evening, everyone. It's just turned, literally, just turned 7:30 in the PM here in the UK, and it's a little bit cooler than it was this afternoon. It's been way too hot for me. So this is the second live stream of the day. Yeah, I am spoiling you at the moment. I did intend to do just this live stream today, but I just couldn't help myself. I felt compelled to comment on the latest nonsense in the Sebastian Rogers case. So I decided to do this later when it's a little bit cooler, which it is. That's the spirit. Sleep is for the weak. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today in this live stream is Suitcase Sarah. Oh dear. If this case, this case is absolutely tragic, an absolute senseless death of someone called George Torres. It's absolutely senseless. But if it, that aside, the fact that there was a really tragic ending to someone's life, the entire rest of the case is hilarious. I mean, you couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. And Suitcase Sarah, she was meant to be going to trial. I mean, how many times has this trial been on and then it has been continued? I've lost count. I have lost count. Look, the crime took place in February 2020. We've had an entire global pandemic since then, and Sarah's been sat in jail the entire time, waiting for trial. But she's gone through 8 attorneys. She's on attorney number 9. In fact, after 8 court-appointed attorneys, the judge said, no more. Sarah, you're going to represent yourself. I'm not going to appoint you any more attorneys. I'm sorry. No cigar. So she had a little go at trying to represent herself, but come on, could you represent yourself in court if you were, you've no legal training whatsoever? And, it was going to be an absolute farce, a shit show, complete shit show. But the judge was hanging firm. He was like, no, you've done this to yourself. I've been gracious enough to give you attorney after attorney after attorney, no more. So she did a little advert, and the advert was featured on Court TV. And who saw it? Well, attorney number 9 saw it, and attorney number 9 has agreed to represent her. So there was a hearing a few days ago, and attorney number 9 said quite a reasonable request, asking the judge, could we have a small continuance because I'm brand new on the case and, I need to, learn the discovery and appoint some experts and stuff. And the judge said, no. This has gone on for way too long. Continues and continues and continues. No more. We are going to trial in October as planned. So it's coming up in less than a month's time. Will be jury selection. So what we're going to do in this live stream, I'm going to start at the beginning. This is kind of like a little trial preparation live stream. We're going to start the case from scratch. We're going to play some body cam, going to play some snippets from the interrogation, which was hilarious. I mean, hilarious. But I'm going to save myself some time here, because what you can see on your screen, not the dogs, not my little icon, but Sarah Boone looking surprised or shocked, or I don't know what facial expression that is, honestly. But this is a video that I prepared back in April of last year. I'd had loads of requests to do her case. And I thought, all right, because in April of last year, there was a trial due. The trial was actually due to start, I think, July. Again, it had been continued and continued and continued. But I think at that point, we were maybe on attorney number 6. If anybody can remember, like if you can name all the attorneys, you know, I'll give you a gold star. But Bankowitz was her attorney for a while, a good while. Bankowitz was almost stuck it out to the bitter end. But that relationship fell through. He was either attorney 6 or attorney 7. He might be an attorney 7. Anyway, attorney 8 was a woman, and she did not last very long. She was like, nope. But Bankowitz almost got it to trial, and then it fell through. So I'm going to play this video that I prepared back in April of last year. And I tell the story, play the body cam, play the suitcase video. So if you're not familiar with this case, by the end of this live stream, you will be familiar with it. The video's like half an hour long. We're going to play it through. I'm going to stop it a few times maybe to comment. And then what we're going to do after that, once we've got the timeline and the story and understand what a cantankerous, problematic person Sarah Boone is, then we'll bring the whole thing up to date. And we'll talk about attorney number 9. Because a few days ago, he did an interview with Vinnie Politan on Court TV. So I'm going to play that interview because it's very interesting. I think he thought that he'd have a relatively easy ride. He'd get some publicity for himself, which is fine. You know, he's not taking any payment up front. He says that she does have to pay him back. He's not doing it pro bono. But she's got to pay him back eventually. So you think, all right, you know, he's taken this on. Clearly this woman has problems. Taking this on, why not? Why not allow himself some publicity? So, you know, he's done an interview with Vinnie Politan on Court TV. He's done an interview with Ashley Banfield on News Nation. So I can't blame him for that at all. But it's interesting. The things he said is interesting because I think he thought he could get her to plead, you know, guilty to a maybe manslaughter or something. But we're going to talk about it all. As I said, I'm going to stop it a few times because I've got a few other little things to add that I didn't talk about in the video that I did last April. But yeah, if you saw the video from last April, if you know the case really well, consider this a reminder. But we are going to bring it bang up to date and we're all going to be ready for trial. The judge is ready. The judge is raring to go. The judge ain't gonna put up with her nonsense, her long letters. Like, he must be sick of her because she writes these really long letters. So, yeah. Oh dear. Okay, but she's determined. She's determined to. She thinks that she's in the right. So, whoa, what happened there? Did we get a black screen for a second then? Don't know what happened there. All right. This body cam, like much of this video is body cam, police interrogation. So the volume isn't brilliant. I do have the closed captions on, so it does help a little bit. But yeah, let's make a start, shall we?
I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30ish, whatever. So I came downstairs, and I was like, "Oh, he's in the suitcase still."
Sarah. Stupid.
So you play a drunken game of hide and seek. Your boyfriend gets in a suitcase, you zip him up, and then go to bed, and the next morning you wake up and he's dead. Is that right, Sarah?
Yes.
Hello everyone, welcome to another video. If you're brand new here, if this is the first time you visited my channel, please do consider subscribing, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. So this is probably my most requested video ever, and this is the case of Sarah Boone and the suitcase. Is this a case of a battered woman who is absolutely at the end of her tether? Is this a silly drunken mistake, or is it somewhere in between? So buckle up. This is wild. If you haven't heard of this case before, you're going to be baffled by the ridiculousness of the events that unfolded on the afternoon of the 24th of February 2020. This case is from Winter Park in Florida, specifically Franz Court. And Sarah Boone makes a 911 call at 1:01 p.m. Let's listen to just a little piece of it. All right, so we're going to listen to a little snippet of the 911 call. So this is 1:01 p.m. on the 24th of February, 2020. Sarah Boone makes it known that a game of hide and seek had gone terribly, terribly wrong, and her boyfriend, George Torres, was dead. Okay. All right. No, she's not been out on bond. She's been sitting in jail the whole time. The whole time. You'd think she'd want to just get this over and done with, but no. She's been in jail the whole time. All right. A little bit of 911 call here.
No, tell me exactly what happened there.
My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and I put him in a suitcase and we were playing, and like kind of hide and seek kind of thing. So I fell asleep, and I woke up, and he was dead in the suitcase. So I don't know what happened.
The man that Sarah found dead in a suitcase was her long-term boyfriend, George Torres Jr. Now, this was a turbulent relationship, and we're going to get into a little bit of that in a few minutes. But yeah, she found him dead. Cops arrived, and let's listen to Sarah's explanation. Makes no sense to me, but...
Yeah, you call it working.
What's going on? I just got here, so fill me in. No problem. Like,
Yeah,
he and I were putting a puzzle together. We've been doing some artwork together.
You are putting a puzzle together?
Yes, we have a puzzle that we started in there.
Okay.
We've been doing art, trying to take the stuff off the wall to make new art put up there, like having a good time with one another. But we're drinking. We had a bottle of wine last night. Okay.
Turns out it may be a little bit more than one bottle of wine between them, but they were doing a jigsaw puzzle and some artwork. They like to do art, and yeah, that's what they were doing. Then
we decided to play hide and seek, right? Okay. So he gets in the suitcase. Okay.
Who is this guy?
That's my ex-husband, my former husband.
How did he live here with you guys?
No, I called him over here.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
So then he came over here.
Here, let's talk in private, okay?
I called you guys. I tried giving him CPR. The problem is I fell asleep.
When did you do CPR?
This morning when I found it.
Before you called?
Yes.
It's 1 o'clock right now.
I tried. I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30ish, whatever. So I came downstairs, and I was like, "Oh, he's in the suitcase still."
see, the problem was this game of hide and seek happened the night before. We know what time it happened because Sarah videoed it, but we'll get there. So she gets up 12:30 the following day, and George is dead. So the officer then goes to speak to Sarah's ex-husband, Brian. Now, Brian and Sarah are split up. They share a child together. They share custody. Let's listen to what Brian has to say. Now, it isn't very complimentary towards Sarah. He seems to know a lot. Okay, so we're going to hear from Brian. This is Sarah's ex-husband. As I said here in the video, Brian isn't terribly complimentary, although he's not nasty. I think he's just long-suffering. They do share a child. They share custody of a little boy, and I think she just gives Brian the runaround, honestly. Brian is aware that were some problems in Sarah and George's relationship. There's claims of domestic violence. There's actually, and I show some, I think I show like 2 police reports in this video, you know, where it's mutual. Like, she strangled him, he's hit her. It's what is called in psychology situational couple violence or common couple violence. The terms are used interchangeably, where it's a fractious relationship and both sides, you know, they fight, and sometimes that fighting becomes physical, but it's, you know, it's mutual. Like, they're just argumentative, and you can imagine how argumentative Sarah is, can't you? You can imagine just how argumentative Sarah is. So Brian knows some stuff. He tells the cops, you know, a little bit here. And then they go back to Sarah. Sarah is more concerned about getting a drink of Dr. Pepper. Now, I don't think I have this clip in the video, but she spends so much time saying, can I just nip in and get my Dr. Pepper? It's right there. My Dr. Pepper's right there. And, oh, can I have a cigarette? And I really need my Dr. Pepper. And the cops won't let her in the house because it's a crime scene. They're currently processing. You know, George is there, dead, in this suitcase, been dead for hours. We know what time the game happened because she bizarrely videoed herself taunting him. This is why I can't understand how she can be pleading not guilty. That said, however, I've gone back and forward on this, kind of thinking, have they overcharged her? And, you know, she's charged with second-degree murder. Now, under Florida statute, and I've got it here, under Florida statute, second-degree murder says this. So this is of 2024. So I don't know whether it was different in 2020. She'd be charged under 2020, but I'm assuming that they haven't changed it too much. But here, the unlawful killing of a human being when perpetrated by any act imminently dangerous to another and evincing a depraved mind, regardless of human life, although without any premeditated design to effect the death of any particular individual, is murder in the second degree and constitutes a felony of the first degree, punishable by life imprisonment for a term not exceeding life. Well, you can't really exceed life, can you? You can't go beyond life. But it basically takes the death penalty off the table because death penalty is only for first-degree murder. But they have charged her with second-degree murder. And I guess it kind of fits if you're saying, you know, locking someone in a suitcase and taunting them and not letting them out. It's dangerous. It's just a reckless disregard for human life. But I only wonder these things because we have had a number of cases recently. Actually, one in Florida, very recently, Ashley Benefield, if anybody watched that trial. And the jury found her not guilty of second-degree murder. Ashley Benefield shot her husband, who she claimed was abusive and controlling, and that she was afraid for her life, and she shot him. And the jury found her guilty of manslaughter, but not second-degree murder. So I assume that the jury in Sarah's case will also be given that lesser charge as well to ponder. And as long as they give her the option of manslaughter as well, then I think I'm okay with them going for a second-degree murder, as long as they, you know, they're given the option. They generally are. They generally are. All right. So I just thought I'd mention that. It is nuts. The case is nuts. The case is nuts. Anyway, let's get back here and let's listen to what Brian, Sarah's ex-husband, has to say to this cop here. Very informative.
Well, I had been calling.
Come down here. We gotta talk.
I've been calling
You've been calling your ex-wife or current wife?
Yes.
Okay.
No, ex-wife. We've
Okay.
been divorced about a year and a half. About 11:30 is when I started calling to find out, because this is supposed to be her day. So, her child.
Okay.
She's generally not very good about always doing it.
They called back and said she was still there, or she came back.
So I was calling to find out if she was going to be getting him or not today.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay.
So Brian had been calling Sarah because he wanted to know whether she was picking their son up from school. She wasn't very good at this because she drank too much. And I think that is the heart of this problem. Sarah had a drink problem. And when Sarah and George were both drinking, they would fight. Again, we'll talk about that shortly. But Brian calls Sarah. Sarah told him this horrible story. So he went round to Sarah's place to see what was going on.
Got over here, told her she needed to call 911, get somebody over here. And then basically she said she needed to go outside, have a drink and a cigarette.
The drink and the cigarette. Sarah seemed more concerned about getting a drink of Dr. Pepper and a cigarette than anything that was happening inside her home, and her boyfriend lying dead, having been in a suitcase all night.
Okay, but you've met him before?
I've met him before, yes.
Okay.
Yes. They've got a whole fun history.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, you guys have called over here quite a few times.
For the two of them?
Yeah, he's been arrested like, I think 5 times.
Really? Okay, I'm not familiar with. I haven't been here personally. So they have
he's currently on parole because of it. So
because of domestic violence with her.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Last time he got pre-trial something or other. He had to go to a domestic violence class.
Okay.
I know he was doing it at a parole officer, stuff like that. But I mean, like every time she'd have him arrested, the next day she was trying to get him bailed out of jail. So I don't know what it is.
So now would be a good time to talk about Sarah and George's turbulent relationship. All right, so Brian and Sarah, at the point here, they'd been divorced about a year and a half. So Sarah and George had been dating. I don't know exactly how long they'd been dating, but the reports that I could find regarding domestic violence or domestic conflict went back to 2018. So there was something that happened in 2018. There was something that happened in 2019, and I do have a little snippet of body cam as well that I didn't put in this video, but Cut TV played it the other night. So that was Sarah being questioned, or being asked to give her side of the story as part of one of these domestic violence call-outs. So I'll play that. I'll let this video play through and talk through the reports, and then I'll just play that snippet of body cam after that. Now, in 2018, they'd been dating for about 1.5 years and oh, there you go. I've answered my own question. So in 2018, they've been dating 1.5 years. So they must have got together, beginning of 2017, probably. So I think this is August. Oh, this is July 2018. Just make it out there. All right, cool. Residing together for the majority of that time. And drink was always involved in these domestic disputes. These disputes attracted attention from the cops on a semi-regular basis. This report is from 2018. So they'd been verbally arguing and had been consuming alcohol. Sarah placed both her hands around George's throat and applied pressure to the extent that George was having a difficult time breathing. George was sitting on the steps and started kicking towards Sarah in an attempt to get her off him. George believes he might have kicked Sarah in her face, but was not sure. George believes that if he did not kick Sarah off of him, she would have made him incapacitated due to being strangled. But George refused medical treatment, and he also refused to write a statement or sign any dating violence paperwork. On other occasions, Sarah did. Now, this was from August 2019. So again, cops were called to the residence. And again, this is a verbal argument that escalated, probably due to drinking. So approximately 8 p.m., Sarah was in her bedroom sleeping when George woke her, going into the bedroom screaming and angry. George continually punched Sarah in the neck and pulled her hair. Sarah threw George off the bed when she feared he was going to bang her head on the marble windowsill. Sarah and George had been dating since March 2016, and they thankfully had no children in common. During this interaction that the cop had with Sarah, she appeared angry, upset, continually apologized, and stated that she was fed up with being hit, and she did have marks on her. But like George, she always refused to press charges up to this point. But as Brian said, George eventually ended up on parole, having to go to domestic violence treatment programs, and this case just wasn't getting any better. So is this a case of Sarah putting George in the suitcase because she was terrified of him? Now, the thing we'll get to when we get to attorney number 9, I want to talk about the defense that Sarah is proposing, the defense she's going to use at trial. And that is one of a battered spouse defense. So as you can see from these police reports, yes, there was violence. There absolutely was violence in the relationship, but it was somewhat mutual. Now, look, when a relationship is conflicted, it does tend to escalate. And just because a relationship is mutually combative doesn't mean to say that it can't be very serious. You know, you can be, you could have, a relationship where both parties are equally likely to be victimized, but also both parties are equally likely to be the perpetrator. But it doesn't mean to say that it could never end in the ultimate, that one person ultimately at one time it becomes so serious that someone dies. Okay. So we're certainly not saying that cases of common couple violence or situational couple violence, as I said, the terms used interchangeably in psychology, we're certainly not saying that because it's mutually combative that it isn't serious. Usually it's 6 to 1, half a dozen of the other. Just occasionally, though, it becomes potentially lethal. But the defense that Sarah is trying to use at her trial is a very specific one. But we'll get there. We'll get there when we talk about attorney number 9. So, did Sarah put George in the suitcase because she was terrified of him? Or was it just a silly game that went wrong? Or was it something else? I guess that's what the jury is going to have to think about. If you want my opinion of this feels like 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I don't think Sarah was scared of George. Fractious relationship, and when they were drinking, things got rough. But both of them were victims, but both of them were perpetrators. In psychology, we call this common couple violence or situational couple violence. The terms are used interchangeably. Anyway, back to Sarah and what she had to say to the cops.
I fell asleep, forgetting that he was in
you
the
guys were
suitcase.
playing the
All right, so she fell asleep. Right, I just want to play this little bit of body cam here, just to give you a feel. So this is outside of the apartment, probably standing in much the same place as she is right now. And this was from Court TV the other night. I just hadn't picked up this body cam when I did this video, or else I would have included it in there. But yeah, this just gives you a feel for, do the cops, I don't think the cops really believe her, honestly, but let's listen.
I didn't know you needed that specific.
You didn't even include it at all.
Me in here. I so late.
Okay, so he kicks the door open, jumps on top of you, punches you in the ear. Am I right? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay, that's about 5 months before the suitcase.
I thought there was a little bit more to it. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. Here we go.
George was hiding in the bathtub upstairs. Okay?
Yes.
So, he gave me his side of things. I need you to give me your side of things in person right here. And we kind of talked on the phone, but I need you to tell me what happened tonight. So what happened?
Okay, well, pardon my language, because it's not me. I was called a and
Okay.
And I'm not a mother to my son.
Okay.
All the while, nonetheless, I was sleeping before that.
Okay. So you're woken up to him calling you names. So you're saying?
I thought that I'm like, feed the beast, go outside and smoke a cigarette with him.
Okay.
Try to calm things down. Well, the whole time I was there saying nothing. Nothing. I was called names.
Okay. So you guys are smoking a cigarette, and he was calling you names, being verbally aggressive with you. Verbally abusive.
Before that, where I'm like, I don't want to get hit anymore. So I'm just going to go downstairs and smoke a cigarette with him to try to calm him down.
Okay. So you're saying, okay, I'm trying to get a timeline of things. So start from the beginning and give me the timeline.
Was that I was asleep?
I don't, not literal time, but in a reference of incidents, how they occurred tonight.
I was asleep, and again, he comes in and wakes me up.
He wakes you up. Okay.
He's out of sorts.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure things out.
Okay.
Where it's like, don't make it worse. Just go downstairs with him. Because he gets mad at me because I go to sleep.
Okay.
I go downstairs, smoke a cigarette. The whole time I'm being belittled.
Okay.
Pardon me for saying talk about.
Mm-hmm. And then?
I walked off barefoot.
Okay, so when did he hit you? You said he hit you.
That was in the bedroom.
When? I just asked for a timeline.
He woke me up.
Okay. He woke you up. By hitting you? Is that what you're telling me? Or what happened? I need you to tell me.
He kicked the door open. He's kicked the
You're adding a lot of details that I need you to be very concise with.
Sir?
When I'm telling you, I need a timeline of the events.
Yes.
How am I going to corroborate your story?
He kicks the door open 4 times.
Uh-huh.
4th time, I gave in. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's when I got punched in my ear. On the 4th time. Where I was like, don't do it anymore. Just go downstairs. Go smoke a cigarette.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
Okay.
And then I walked off barefoot.
Okay. And on the phone, you told me that you attacked him as well.
I didn't attack him.
You said you exchanged, you had a physical altercation on the phone. That's what you told me.
I pulled him off of me.
He said he has marks because I was fighting for my life.
I was being honest with you.
So,
all right, so the cop wasn't getting a very clear picture there. And I do think it's from very similar to this report. This report. That was 20-something of August. And that body cam is September, I think. 9/5, so 5th of September. So I don't know whether they had two similar altercations in the same week or what. I don't know. So this is on August 28th, 2019. And then the body cam is the 5th of September, 2019. So there must have been two very similar events. I don't know. There must have been. So the cop wasn't getting a very clear picture of what happened. So Sarah seemed to be asleep. George came in and punched the door and he hit her in her ear. But then she got him off and he said he was fighting for his life. And But the problem with Sarah's battered spouse defense is that she doesn't seem to be scared of him. And what the jury will have to look at is not past events, not the past he said, she said of what happened in 2019 or in 2018. The jury will be asked to judge Sarah on what happened on the evening of February 23rd, 2020. That's what the jury will be asked to judge Sarah on. On that night, was she afraid for her life? It will be the question that the prosecution will pose to the jury. Was Sarah scared? Did she panic? Did she lock George in the suitcase because she was panicked? Because she feared that he was going to hurt her, seriously hurt her, and she had no choice but to lock him in the suitcase. That will be what the jury will be asked to decide. Okay. So let's play a little bit more here from Sarah's conversation with the cops. So we've done that. All right.
Forgetting that he was in
you
the
guys
suitcase.
were playing the hide and go seek.
Yes.
And at some point you put him in the suitcase?
No, he got in the suitcase. So he thought it would be funny to be put in the suitcase. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to joke with you and I'll zip you up and make him, squirm a little bit, whatever it is. But then I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
Where was the suitcase?
Right where it is.
In it. Right down there?
Yes.
You zipped him in there?
Yes.
Thought he would be funny, a little
joke. It was. We both were laughing about it. Okay. And then I fell asleep.
Where did you fall asleep at?
Upstairs.
In your bedroom?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally forgetting that he was in the suitcase still.
Okay.
So he got in the suitcase voluntarily, but she zipped him up. How is this hide and seek? Right, look, it's a long time since I played hide and seek. My kids were probably tiny the last time I played hide and seek. And have the rules of hide and seek changed over the last 20 years? Because I thought that, one person counted to like 10 or 100 or whatever, and other people go and hide. It's not hide and seek if you have to be helped into a suitcase in order to hide. So it's not hide and seek, is it? It isn't, is it? But anyway, she said that she forgot about him. She was that drunk that she forgot about him. And it was only when she woke up the following day in the afternoon at 12:30 that she realized he was still in the suitcase. Okay. Up and thought she would let him squirm a little bit. And then she went upstairs and forgot all about him. But Sarah took 2 videos of George in the suitcase. This is hard to hear, especially if you're claustrophobic. But this is the first video she took at 11:12 p.m. All right, so this is the video. The cops found 2 videos. This is the first video. The cops also found another video taken a few minutes later. And in the second video, and you'll hear the cops talk about it when I play some clips from the interrogation, she actually moved the suitcase because the second video, the suitcase was in a different position and she turned the suitcase over. So whether she turned the suitcase over to make it easier for him to get out, I don't know. We don't know. But as you can see in this video, the zipper is the zipper's underneath. Is the zipper underneath? Yeah, the zipper's underneath. That's like the hard bit, isn't it? So she'd flip the suitcase over in the second video. So yeah, if you're claustrophobic, this just is just horrible. But Sarah's language here is very, very telling. Again, the jury will be played this. This is the prosecution's biggest piece of evidence. Sarah does not appear to be afraid. She appears to be taunting him. She doesn't listen to any pleading that he does. That's what Sarah will be judged on.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Sarah.
Stupid.
Sarah.
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
Sarah. I can't fucking breathe, babe. Seriously.
Yeah, that's when you do when you choke me.
Sarah. 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 Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
It's on you.
Sarah.
Real or ransom. I want to get video for it extra. Because I got this.
Sarah.
Real or ransom.
Sarah.
She just sounds nasty, vindictive, but yeah, maybe drunk. Very drunk. She sounds very drunk. And yeah, she says, yeah, because she, you know, when he says she can't breathe, she said, yeah, that's how I feel when you choke me. So you kind of think, well, what's she doing here? Getting a bit of revenge? Because why? You know, if this started off as a joke, he wants to get in the suitcase, she zips him up, and then she sits down and decides to video him, and suddenly this becomes all about revenge. This is how I feel when you choke me. All right. And then she turns the suitcase over, videos him again, and then goes to bed. So you can kind of understand why the prosecution have brought a charge of second-degree murder against her. Because the story just doesn't make sense. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. And the interrogation, these 2 cops in this interrogation, if you've watched the entire police interrogation, it lasted nearly 2 hours. These 2 cops, I mean, how they sat and kept a straight face, and she was just dominating them. But they let her talk. Like, it was frustrating to listen to, but they let her talk. And that was an interesting way to do it. But, yeah.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
Breathe, Sarah.
Yeah.
So the day after, this would be the 25th of February, detectives took Sarah in for questioning. George's autopsy had been conducted that day and he had injuries. Now, not life-threatening injuries from the way that the cops describe it, but they want to speak to Sarah. They read her rights and she sits there and gets more and more annoyed with them. So we're going to play some clips here. And what the cops do is confront Sarah with the videos that she took. The one that you've just seen at 11:12 p.m. and then there's another one 11 minutes later where it looks like she's flipped over the suitcase. So she's moving the suitcase around. She's playing with him. She's toying with him. She's like a cat with a mouse. It's just horrible. Horrible. But they confront her with this video. All right. So what we don't know is how long George had been in the suitcase before she started videoing him. Now, I haven't seen the full autopsy report. Honestly, I don't think I've ever looked for it, but he did have some injuries. So I'll be interested at the trial to hear what the medical examiner has to say. Presumably, the cause of death would be suffocation, presumably. He just run out of air. So it'd be interested to know whether the injuries that he had were, like, I guess, defensive, like trying to get out. You know, he might have grazes and abrasions and things like that on his hands and maybe his arms and his legs where he's tried to, you know, force himself out of the suitcase, or whether the injuries are consistent with a fight. And if they're consistent with a fight, you know, if you have bruises and stuff that's consistent with a fight, then it tells us that maybe this wasn't the fun, you know, doing jigsaw puzzles and doing art and then deciding to have an innocent game of hide and seek and then having a funny ending to the night where he says, Sarah, zip me up in this suitcase. And she does. And then she decides to taunt him. You know, if there's evidence on his body of, you know, a physical altercation, then maybe the night didn't go that way. Maybe there's something much more sinister to how George ended up in the suitcase. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. And I don't want to speculate too much, but we don't know at this stage how long George had been in the suitcase. So this is 11:12. He's in the suitcase. So had he been in the suitcase 10 minutes? Had he been in the suitcase an hour? What had gone down here? We don't know. We don't know. Thank you, Purple AJ. Oh, you gifted 10 this morning and another 5. Thank you so much. Again, I only have one screen until Kyle gets his laptop fixed. They did ring him today and they said that they were doing it. So he may get it back tomorrow. So I may get my second screen, my laptop that uses my second screen. I may get that back. I do have an old laptop that if it's going to be a while, because I don't like working on one screen because StreamYard doesn't show me who gets the gifted memberships. So Purple AJ, thank you so much. I'm lost for words about how many memberships you gift. But if you did get a gifted membership from Purple AJ, please thank her in the chat. That would be very kind. Thank you so much. And welcome. Get a month's free membership. Okay. All right, let's listen to some of this interrogation. And she doesn't remember the videos being on her phone. It's not like they had to, you know, search for these videos. It's not like she didn't do a Stephen Stearns where she deleted everything off her phone, you know, factory reset it. She didn't try to hide these videos. So she clearly was very intoxicated and she just didn't remember what she'd done. So that actually goes in her favor. You know, from the defense's standpoint, that actually goes in her favor that maybe she didn't remember locking him in the suitcase. Because if she didn't remember the incriminating videos, then she wouldn't have remembered locking him in the suitcase either. So there is that. There is that. You know, she didn't try to hide these videos. They were right there. But she doesn't seem bothered. She doesn't seem bothered. She does get more and more irate as the interview goes on. But she's cocky. She's really cocky. But these are just a few clips that I put together here.
So I have something that I want to show you that we found. And it was from your phone. Mm-hmm. Can you see it?
If you need to move it around, go ahead.
No, I don't remember that.
For everything you've done to me. For everything you've done to me.
Your battery's about to die.
Shut it down.
Oh, okay.
So Sarah seems just unemotional, unconcerned, psychopathic in a way. She's more concerned about the laptop battery about to die. But they continue.
Do I have to watch this? I continuously throw up. I don't sleep. I don't want to see it, if that's okay.
Well, it's on your phone, and you can either explain it or we take it for what it is.
Yeah.
For everything you've done to me. Fuck you.
And
Fuck you.
That's you, your voice.
Stupid. Sarah. That's my name. Don't wear it out. Yeah, that's when you do when you choke me.
I don't want to watch it, please.
In my opinion, she doesn't want to watch it because she knows how incriminating it is.
Last time we talked to you, you had said that you put him in the suitcase, he had two fingers hanging out.
I flipped him over. I flipped him over, and that's where it was.
All right, so she's kind of trying to say, well, I flipped him over so that he could get out, because in that first video, it's down, like the zip's down, like he would really struggle to get out. The way it was in that first, but how? Look, right? She must. How does it work? Right, let's go back to this. So if she'd put him in the suitcase, right, the zip would be at the top, wouldn't it? If he'd got in the suitcase voluntarily and she zipped him up, the zip would be at the top. Now, this is video number 1. So how is the zip at the bottom? So she must have flipped him before she took this first video. So again, it begs the question, how long had she been taunting him by the time she took this video? Because she'd flipped him before this video was taken. Because there's no way that he could have got in with the position it's in right there. Do you see what I'm saying? So he's got in the suitcase, or she's put him in the suitcase, she's zipped him up, then she's flipped him, then she's taken this video, then 11 minutes later, she takes another video where he's flipped back. So that must have been the point where she said, you know, oh, well, I'm going to bed, good night, like probably laughing her head off. And thought, well, he can get out because, you know, the zip's back up, you know, to the top. You see what I'm saying? So he's been flipped at least twice. That must be the first flip, and then she's flipped him back so that he could get out, potentially. So I don't think she intended to kill him. I mean, maybe she did, I don't know, but in my opinion, I think she's just drunk and thought it was hilarious that he's pleading. He's literally pleading for his life, saying, I can't breathe, let me out, I can't breathe. Pleading for his life. And she's just laughing at him, taunting him. What she doesn't do, I think the most incriminating thing here, apart from the video, I mean, the entire thing's incriminating. But for her defense, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm out, won't be long. I'm not sorry. Thank you for the £2. That's very kind of you. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, but she must have flipped it twice. Because this, what you're seeing on your screen is video number 1 at 11:12. So in this video, the zip's at the bottom. So to get in, the zip must have been at the top. She wouldn't have been able to zip him up. Like, she wouldn't have been able to like fasten it and zip him up. So he's got in with the zip at the top. She's flipped it to the position it's in now with the zip at the bottom. She's videoed him. Then she's flipped it back to the original position with the zip at the top, presumably so that he could eventually get himself out. And she's gone to bed. But she thinks that because she flipped him back to the zip at the top, he should have been able to get out. And then she's forgotten all about him. Well, that makes sense. If she's forgotten that these incriminating videos are on her phone, it does make sense that she's just forgotten all about him, that she's just blacked out. That does make sense. However, even more incriminating than these videos is what she says in this interrogation, or rather what she doesn't say. Because if she's going for a battered spouse defense, not one time, either to the cops when on the 24th, when they turned up on the afternoon of the 24th, when she called 911, not one time, you can watch the entire body cam, not one time did she say she was scared. In this interrogation, 2 hours interrogation, not one time did she say she was scared. If she truly was, if her defense, if her battered spouse defense is to work, she had to be scared at the time. So if she'd said something like, yeah, it started off as a laugh, but then I knew he was going to be blazing angry and I couldn't let him out because I was too scared of him. Like by the time it got to, 10 minutes or 15 minutes and the worse, the longer it went on, the worse it got. And I became more and more scared to let him out because of what he was going to do to me. If she tried to say something like that, a battered spouse defense might have a little glimmer of hope. But not one time did she say she was scared, that she was nervous, that if she let him out, he was going to do something to her, he was going to get his revenge. Not one time. So how can she be claiming this is a battered spouse defense if she's not scared at any point in the preceding hours or minutes before he died? Riddle me that. So I hope the prosecution brings that up. I'm sure they will. All right, let's go back to this interrogation here. Where was I at? I don't even know where I was at, but we'll start there. Go back to there.
No, I'm just trying to show you a video that you no longer want to watch because you probably don't want to know the outcome of how and what you said.
Well, I know what.
You know what's on that video now?
No.
You remember making that video?
No.
Why don't you remember making the video?
Probably because we had been drinking.
But you weren't drunk.
No. Just because I went upstairs and just because you're drunk doesn't mean that you.
Times that you were not drunk. You said that you had your wits about you. You said he had his wits about you.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you don't like not having your wits. In my experience, if somebody cannot remember doing something to the extent of making 2 videos and a video and taking a photo, they are intoxicated.
Okay. I understand where you all are coming from.
Well, we're just trying to make sense of it. We're trying to figure out what
We're trying
you're
to figure
saying.
out this
You
video.
explain it to us. We're listening.
So the one bottle of wine that they shared between them, I mean, one bottle of wine between 2 people who are used to drinking would not have put either of them in a state where they were so completely out of it that they would just be completely reckless. And it certainly wouldn't put her in a state where she wouldn't remember taking 2 incriminating videos and then completely forgetting about him, blacking out and completely forgetting about him. You know, surely. So the fact that she tried to argue to these cops that she wasn't drunk, again, does her absolutely no favors. You know, in saying that she should have said, yeah, I was really, really drunk. I was really drunk. And I don't remember any of it. I don't remember any of this night because I was so drunk. And that makes her defense a little bit more believable. There was 2 empty bottles. Well, a bottle of wine each. All right. But, I mean, wine isn't that strong, is it? I mean, yeah, you get drunk, but it's not like you're downing an entire bottle of whiskey. I mean, maybe they were drinking other stuff as well. Who knows? Maybe they were smoking stuff. Who knows? I don't know. But, yeah, she does herself absolutely no favors. And they let her talk. They let her talk. I mean, like I said, it's infuriating listening to this entire. I got frustrated with the cops, thinking, why don't you just confront her? But no, I think they played it. They played it well. They let her argue. They let her argue because it just incriminates herself. It makes herself sound just contradictory. So it's good. It's good. Right. Was clearly untrue, but they're both adults. They can drink like fish if they want to. But she claims that she doesn't remember anything about this. And she says, look, she thought he could get out and then she just went to sleep. And she keeps stressing, getting more and more annoyed that this wasn't intentional. She didn't intentionally put him in there, and the pleading that he was doing, well, he was just crying wolf. So we've got victim blame going on here as well as denial, as well as just clear signs of bullying behavior. This, in my opinion, is not a nice person.
That didn't cross your mind.
That's like an assumption. Like, that's what you all are thinking. Just
We're asking.
It's the whole.
You tell us.
It's the drinking.
Yeah, but that's not an excuse.
That's what it is.
So no, she's saying it is the drinking. So she started off saying, no, we weren't drunk. And then once they've, confronted her with that, then she's saying, yeah, it's the drinking. Okay, Sarah. Okay.
It's the drinking. I thought it was I thought he was okay. Like, I didn't, he's
telling you he's not. He's telling you, Sarah, I can't breathe. He's saying your name and you're like, that's my name, don't wear it out.
Guys, that's how we are with each other. Like, nobody understands our relationship. The whole suitcase thing never happened before.
Would you leave someone else in a suitcase? Would you leave Lucas in a suitcase jokingly? Because it was a joking matter. You put him in there jokingly. Would you leave Lucas jokingly in there? And you love Lucas, right?
Well, Lucas is her little boy, by the way.
I wouldn't do that to him either. I wouldn't do that to him.
So.
But you did do that to him. So she wouldn't leave Lucas in a suitcase, but she's saying she wouldn't leave George in a suitcase either, except she did leave George in the suitcase. But she thought he could get out. All right.
I just.
Well, it's not like, again, I don't think you all understand. Like,
I mean,
That was not my intention.
Well,
Y'all don't have any idea what
by
I've
your
done for
acts,
him.
But by your acts, and that's exactly right. You get to the point where you've done so much for somebody and they don't show you any appreciation.
He did.
Not by your words.
So not one time did she say that they had a violent relationship and that she was scared of him, and that she, you know, got to this point and she thought, I don't let him out. She didn't even try. She didn't even try to explain that there was no fear whatsoever in Sarah on that night. None.
In the video, I don't get that.
He did.
Because you bring up the fact that when he's choking you, you can't breathe. That's how you felt when he cheated on you. You couldn't breathe. And you verbally several times told him just fuck you.
Well, you said it in the video, but you won't let us play the rest of it. 'Cause you don't want to.
When I say cheating, it's on his phone.
Okay. Cheating is cheating.
I think so too.
Exactly.
It's your definition of cheating, though. So, I mean, that's what the word cheat means.
And that's what you told him in the video. That I couldn't breathe when you cheated on me.
So I don't. All right. Pamela, thank you so much for the $4.99. Thank you. She may not have meant to, but being drunk is no excuse. No, it's no excuse at all. Thinking how he died is sickening. Yeah, it is. It is. And then just the way that she's just trying to make light of it. It was terrible. It was terrible. Yeah, she does. She does. She really does. But yeah, I mean, it was 2 hours of being argumentative. But yeah, this is the point where they put the cuffs on. Hold on, let's. Oh, and I don't think I've got this clip in this video, but she went, "I excel at everything. I am so clever. I excel at everything." It's like, yeah, whatever. You don't excel at law, but here we go. Here we go. This is the bit where they've had enough. They've seen enough. This is what they cuff her.
It's there. He'll get out no harm. Because you don't.
And then he doesn't. But you don't go check on him. You say you're up for 30 minutes and he doesn't come up. You don't go down and check on him?
I'm in the bed.
You even move.
And don't
You admit to moving.
So she went to bed but was awake for 30 minutes. So she didn't even think, oh, where is he? Yeah, it's crazy.
The suitcase like over. So
you roll it.
You roll it out. Like, it's not like.
I didn't want it to be like that. Don't.
You didn't want him to be upside down. How do you even get upside down?
Right. You guys are killing me right now.
I just want you to hear.
And they played that video over and over. They played that video over and over.
That's how he talks to me most of the time.
Anyway, after nearly 2 hours of this, the cuffs come out.
Okay. Or can I not make a phone call?
You'll be able to make a phone call when we get you down to the jail.
So why is this happening? So this was a trick.
No, it's not a trick. How was it a trick?
This is a trick. This is a trick. Oh, this was a trick. No, it's not a trick. You're going to jail. Dear me.
Here to ask you to explain a few things to us. And
you were read your rights.
Your response to everything was basically, I didn't do it.
Intentionally.
Doesn't matter. It's still there.
So this was 2020. All right. So I'm not going to play. I've got a couple of clips here. But in relation to the battered spouse defense that she is continuing to go for, this attorney, whether he's attorney 6 or attorney 7, I can't quite remember. We've had a change of judge as well. I don't remember at what point the judge changed, but we do have a change of judge as well. Maybe the judge just couldn't be arsed with her either. I don't know. I don't know why the judge changed. It wasn't intentional. I know, it's crazy. But this attorney, Bankowitz, he tried to get experts who would testify in Sarah's defense as an expert in domestic violence. And he creates this argument, like the attorney Bankowitz creates this argument that he's asking for a continuance, a small continuance, because he can't get an expert who is willing to testify because of financial problems. Like the rates that the court will pay is not enough for any of the experts that he tries to approach. However, he finally says the real reason why these experts won't testify.
Testifying too.
Mr. Cacciatore, what's your position in regard to the defense request for continuing?
Maybe I've missed it. I may have missed it, but I'll go back if I have.
I would have no objection to another role.
So, Mr. Bankowitz, how deeply have you plumbed the depths of the pool of experts in this field to find out or find one who's willing to work for the JAC rate?
Well, I've actually talked to 3, and they don't have contracts with JAC and are not willing to work with JAC. And I've made some other inroads with battered women shelters, trying to get their psychologists, who'd be willing. Problem is willing to testify, basically.
Okay. Because of the concern about the compensation rate for testimony?
Well, that's one of the things. And to be honest with you, this case has had so much notoriety that people don't want to be involved.
Okay.
I think that's it. People don't want to be involved. So 3 experts wouldn't do it because of the compensation rates. However, he's tried to go to battered women's shelters to find people willing to testify at all. So regardless of how much compensation, they won't testify at all. Now, he says, oh, well, it's because of the notoriety of the case. But actually, is it because there is no defense? There is no battered spouse defense in this case. You take one look at that video and you say, this is not a case of a battered spouse killing somebody unintentionally or even intentionally because they were absolutely terrified. And I think that that's going to be the problem that attorney number 9 faces, because they're trying to use the same defense that Bankowitz went for. Now, we don't know the reasons why 8 attorneys quit on Sarah Boone. Like I said, Bankowitz stuck it out almost to the trial, and then he quit. So let's see what attorney 9 has to say for himself. But just before we do, I'm going to just direct you to this. Now, I've put the link to this in the description box. It's quite a long article. This was published in, it's an academic article. It's like a commentary piece, but it is academic, from 2022, published in the Journal of the American Academy of Psychiatry and the Law. The uses of battered woman syndrome in U.S. criminal courts. So this is an opinion piece, but it goes through the difficulties with this defense. That even in cases where there's terrible violence, really, really terrible violence, it's a very difficult defense to win. Very difficult. And it gives a bunch of examples. But here, all right, so Is it a case of this is like traditional self-defense? I guess it is, but there's a little bit more to it. You know, if you act in self-defense, like you're allowed to use reasonable force to prevent a crime, to prevent yourself being killed, you are allowed to defend yourself, right? Yeah, of course you are. You're allowed to defend yourself in this country as well, as long as you don't go beyond what is reasonable force, and that's obviously a debate. Now, battered spouse syndrome would be a form of self-defense, but it's a little bit more to it because you might be so psychologically ground down, you might feel so helpless, and then, you know, this particular time you find the strength to fight back and you snap, I guess. But even with cases of really, really terrible violence, it is such a difficult defense to win. This is just an interesting example. A self-defense claim traditionally requires defendants to prove that they were confronted in an unprovoked attack and that the threat of injury or death was imminent, that the degree of force used was objectively reasonable, and that they had objectively reasonable fear of being injured or killed without the use of force. In self-defense cases where expert witness testimony on battered women syndrome, now it's battered spouse defense, but this is about battered women, is offered as a justification, the adherence to above elements is often disputed on appeal. For example, in State versus Kelly, 1982, the defendant was charged with the murder of her husband. She sought to introduce testimony on battered women syndrome and argued that in the setting of being choked repeatedly by her husband earlier that day, she stabbed him in an act of self-defense. Like she'd been violently treated like that day, and finally she snapped. She had enough and she stabbed him. All right. The trial court excluded this testimony as irrelevant and found her guilty of manslaughter. However, on appeal, she argued, and the Supreme Court of New Jersey later agreed in 1984 that the expert witness testimony on battered women syndrome was relevant to show the objective reasonableness of the defendant's perception of danger. And is this the same case? No, this is a different case. State versus Hundley, 1985. The court noted that the use of the term immediate during jury instructions of a traditional self-defense case obliterates the nature of the buildup of terror and fear, which has been systematically created over a long period of time. In a traditional self-defense case, it's imminent. It's him or me. If I don't act now, right now, to fight my way out of this, even if I have to kill them to get out, I've got to do it or else I'm going to die. In the battered spouse defense, you can argue that it's a build-up. It's a build-up of fear. It's a build-up of violence over a long period of time that eventually results in the victim snapping and the victim acting in a form of self-defense, but it's not necessarily a matter of life and limb at that particular moment. But it's a very, very, very difficult defense to win because it is very, very subjective. It depends on how the jury interprets the victim's testimony. The victim being the defendant, obviously, in this case. So imminent describes the situation more accurately. As a result of these findings, the court held that the trial court had committed a reversible error, reversing the judgment and remanding the case to a new trial. So these cases, they often end up in the appeals court. But one thing that is needed, one thing that a jury has to hear is that there was fear or a buildup of fear or a buildup of resentment and being in a state of I don't know, constant nerves, constant stress. That's not the way that Sarah Boone sounded. That's not the way that Sarah Boone sounded in this interview. Not one time in this interrogation did she say that she was afraid or that this was just a build-up. The way that she spoke to him, that sounded vengeful, was because of all the things that he'd done to her in the past and that she was afraid now to let him out. No, none of that. She didn't mention it in this interrogation. She just was arguing and arguing and arguing. She didn't mention it to these cops here. She didn't mention it to these cops. So where's her battered spouse defense? It's non-existent in my opinion. And this is just my opinion. But this is exactly what the jury will have to decide upon. So it will be down to attorney number 9. So let's listen to James Owen, attorney number 9. Here, so Vinny has a phone call with James Owen, attorney number 9. So Sarah Boone's new attorney joins Court TV. So some of you will have heard this, but I'm going to play it just so that I can comment on it. I find it very interesting. I think he's maybe bitten off more than he can chew, honestly. And he truly, where does it begin? Maybe. I think he truly believed that he was going to get a continuance. So now he's got less than a month to prepare the case. So I don't know whether he's going to be able to get an expert. Bankowitz couldn't get one that would agree to testify. And Bankowitz had all the time in the world. And he had a judge who wasn't just sick to the back teeth of Sarah Boone. Bankowitz couldn't do it. So let's see if James Owen does. But let's listen to what he says to Vinny.
To work, just to talk to you. And so she signed that, and I did for judges recommend.
Hold on. Where does it begin? Oh, that's the advert. That's the advert. She put that in one of her court filings, and Court TV showed it on the screen, and she bagged an attorney. Where does it begin? This, because Vinny does a long intro. I don't want to miss. Here we go.
And it's rare she'd step in. So I waited. Nobody responded in the local area. So I just happened to have a case down in Hillsborough County that I was going to down in Tampa. And so I knew I was scheduled for court down there. So about a week before that, I sent her a letter, and she had a third party contact me to, I guess, check me out to see if I was legitimate. And
well, I think everyone's been checking you out in the last couple of days, and everybody knows you are absolutely legitimate, James. I mean, you have quite a history.
I've been doing it a long time. Doing it a long time. So anyway, she reached out to me, and then a couple of days later, Sarah called me from the jail in Orange County in Orlando. And we talked for a little bit, and I explained to her that I was coming down that Wednesday, but I'd come down early and spend Tuesday talking to her, and she agreed. So I drove down Monday after work. Tuesday morning,
can you describe that meeting without, I know attorney-client.
And he's not local either. It's a long distance. He waited. He saw it on Court TV. He watches Court TV. He saw the ad on Court TV. He knew about her case, and he waited to see if any of the local attorneys would pick it up, and they didn't. Nobody picked it up, so he bagged it.
Communications is off limits, but how would you describe that meeting to someone? Like, was it different than meeting other clients for the first time?
The first meeting?
Yeah.
No, it was a 4-hour meeting. I usually don't meet with clients in the jail for that long, so I gave her a chance to talk and just listened for a long time. She had a lot to say. Obviously, she's been in jail for 4 years. And, you know, we had a good meeting. Just, again, I think she has trust issues because she felt like she did have some good lawyers that were on her case and just withdrew because they would get in some arguments about issues, I guess. And
no way. Sarah Boone get into arguments. Wow. I never would have thought that. I never would have thought that. I mean, maybe she's learned to curb her temper a little bit. You know, given that this is surely the last-ditch effort. She's had this little experience now of trying to represent herself. So maybe she has a little bit more empathy for the attorneys who are trying to do their job and do the best for her. Maybe she'll actually listen rather than trying to be, you know, just argumentative for the sake of it. You can just imagine, can't you? Dear me.
So she said they wouldn't even tell her anything at the jail, but the next thing you know, she would, you know, be sent to court, and the lawyer had filed a motion to withdraw. So she didn't, you know, trust the lawyers because she didn't know who to trust. She'd been with so many. So a lot of it was just trying to build trust with her. After she talked a little bit, I told her a little bit about myself. So really feeling each other out and trying to build some kind of rapport was the first meeting, which was about 4 hours. But I think early on in the case, I was able to persuade her that I knew what I was talking about because I was prepared. When I got there, I was prepared, and I played part of that 4 hours. I played the prosecutor, and I pulled out the jury instructions, and I made an argument as a prosecutor would make to a jury. And I had her sit there and listen to it. And I think that was effective. I don't think she had anybody ever do that to her and explain it to her that way of how it would, you know, play out in court. And that got her attention. And, you know.
Right. Got her attention. Like, is she so completely clueless that she didn't realize just how big a case the prosecution has against her? Did she not realize that before? I find it hard to believe that attorneys haven't tried to get that through to her before. Surely her attorneys previous have contemplated, tried to get her to consider the possibility that she cannot win this. She cannot win this. Not by the battered spouse defense, not by any defense. She cannot win this. The information that the jury are going to hear is just too incriminating. But yet, this James Owen guy says that she won't entertain the possibility of taking a plea. She won't.
Initially, I was going down there. Now, let me tell you, my initial thought going down there was this. She didn't have a lawyer. And once that happens, once they're pro se, then you know as well as I do that all these cases are up for negotiation. Plea agreements are pretty much on the table at any time, and judges recommend, the courts recommend, you know, you try to work cases out. The vast majority of cases get worked out with pleas. So, you know, I talked to her about that, and that was my intent. I'd called the prosecutor and told him I was coming down there to speak with her ahead of time, and he wanted me to file some kind of a notice of appearance, and I didn't want to do that. I wasn't ready to take on the case.
He wasn't ready to take on the case, but he wanted her to take a plea. He wanted her to take a plea, and she said no.
So I got her to sign a document essentially saying, hey, I don't want to negotiate directly with you, state attorney. I would like for James Owens to work, just to talk to you. And so she signed that, and I did, for a couple of days, talk to the prosecutor. I was trying to resolve it.
Right. And
trying to resolve it. He didn't want to go there to trial. He has truly bitten off more than he can chew. He wanted his 15 minutes of fame, and who can blame him? But what he hoped for was persuading Sarah to take a plea, to persuade Sarah and the prosecutor to work it out. Like maybe take murder off the table and give her manslaughter, like for her to plead guilty of manslaughter. And it just didn't work out. And now he's got to go to trial at the beginning of October. Imagine the situation he's in now. He's got to take this woman to trial at the beginning of October, put an entire case together, and the judge has said no continuance. Can you imagine? I bet he's regretting this decision. Oh dear.
I felt like the judge is 6.5 a trial, a 3-week trial with a pro se defendant. Prosecutor's 6.5 a trial with a 3-week trial with a pro se defendant. It was not going to be fair. And I felt like they might be in a posture to try to negotiate something that would be doable. So that was my first intent, was not to handle the case, not to try the case. If we got something worked out, then I would file a notice of appearance and we'd set it for a court date to resolve it.
That didn't happen, though.
No, it didn't. And, I left that 4-hour meeting. I went to Tampa the next day, had court, and then turns out the investigator that had been assigned to the pro se litigant, Sarah Boone, he was meeting with her that evening at 7. So I asked if I could just join. So I came back over and spent about an hour and a half with her and Billy Lane, the investigator. And we talked some more, and I was convinced that there was going to be no plea bargaining. So I told her I was not representing her and I was leaving, and I emailed the prosecutor or called the prosecutor and said, look, we've reached an impasse. There's no...
So even he had that opportunity to jump ship right there. That she didn't want to, negotiate a plea. They'd reached an impasse, and he was ready to go home and say, listen, I can't defend you. I'm going to go home. But unfortunately, he didn't stick to his guns. Oh, dear.
Agreement, and I'm not going to be representing her. And I went home. And I want to say a couple of days later, Sarah called me, and we talked some more. And I told her Vinny,
So, but at this point, she's now reaching out to you because she wants James Owens to represent her.
Well, we did connect. And I think she was overwhelmed being her own lawyer. She was stressed out.
Yeah, she was desperate. He may even get his plea deal. He may even get it yet. Like, he may think, well, there's no continuance. She was there in the courtroom when the judge said no continuance. And if I strongly feel that they're not going to be able to get an expert of any renown whatsoever to defend her as a battered spouse. I know a lot of domestic violence experts. I've worked with a lot of domestic violence experts. I cannot think of one person in my circle of over 20 years in this area, working in this area, that would agree to defend Sarah Boone on a battered spouse defense. No way would anybody, a psychologist, anybody from, battered women's shelter, there's nobody that would agree that I could think of. Whether James Owens will pull one out the bag, will find somebody who is, willing to just stand up there and put their own reputation on the line to defend her. Maybe he'll find someone, but it's a very, very, very tall order, Bankowitz couldn't do it. I don't think any of the other attorneys could do it because she does not have that defense. It doesn't work based on all of the incriminating information that's out there. It doesn't work as a defense. It really doesn't work as a defense. So maybe James Owens will work on her some more. So possibly there's a slim possibility that this ain't going to go to trial. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if at the final hour they work something out and she maybe takes a plea of manslaughter. Then again, this is Sarah Boone, and Sarah Boone seems to live for arguments. So maybe James Owens will, unfortunately for him, be going to trial in October with maybe a less than well-renowned expert. Who knows? But let's play just a couple more of this phone call, and then I'm going to call it quits.
Yeah. She had all this discovery that she was trying to go over. She didn't know what she was doing. She didn't know the rules of procedure, rules of evidence. And she had told the judge, I think they'd had a couple of hearings on some issues, and she said, Judge, this is not fair. I don't know what I'm doing. And the judge kept saying, well, I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is your position. So I think she was just thankful that I came down to see her. We had, some good meetings. So I think she really needed some help. So I think that was partly to do with it, but there were still some issues because I think she was let down because I said I wasn't going to represent her.
Right.
So we got off the phone. I still said I wasn't committed to it, but I was thinking about it. But as you know, second-degree murder trial, and the judge had set a firm date for October the 7th, which is really difficult to do. I mean, you pretty much have to shut down your practice for 30 days or 6 weeks.
Absolutely.
And just to try to catch up and just be, which is essentially what I'm having to do. Now,
well,
so,
you've seen the.
So he's gonna have to put all of his other cases on hold to cram for the next 3 weeks. The trial starts on October 7th. Jury selection's October the 7th. So it's not even the end of October. It's the beginning of October. He's got to be ready to run, and it's going to be a 3-week trial. So he must have a kind heart. That's all I've got to say. He must have a kind heart. But I think that he's hoping amongst hoping that she will agree to take a plea. And that, of course, the prosecutor will agree to it. I think possibly the prosecutor would. I think the prosecutor would say, yeah, let's do it. Then again, he's gone this far, the prosecutor. He's gone this far, expecting there to be a trial. So he's going to win. He's going to win anyway. Poor James.
Body cam, all the interrogation videos, the 911 call, and then, of course, the cell video. It starts there, right? But in terms of getting prepared in 30 days for this trial, that's 4 years old, and a lot of things have happened. Can you do it? And will you be ready?
Well, I'm gonna do my best with the time I've got left. That's all I can do. I'm gonna get some help. I've got to get some staff helping me. I've got a couple of lawyers that are buddies of mine that have offered their help. So
I should send that lawyer from the Northeast down to help you. Joseph Krowski is the guy.
Yeah.
We'll let him know that he's the reason that you jumped in the case. He may fly down there to help you. He's up in Boston. Okay. It's cold. He may come down and help you.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I've got 2 lawyers that, like I say, I think are going to help me. Are pretty much committed to it. They're friends of mine, and I trust them, and they want to help me.
But he's getting all his friends involved. He's got a kind heart. His heart's in the right place. This dude, though, is going to expect payment. Surely these other lawyers who are going to jump in and help are going to also want paying. She doesn't have any money, but he says that she'll eventually have to pay him something back. So look, she's going to prison. She's going to prison. How on earth is she going to ever pay him back? I don't know. Kind-hearted soul. Kind-hearted soul.
And they realized, I thought the case was going to be continued. I respect the judge's decision, but I really, really thought.
Let me ask you this. Have you spoken to any of the other 8?
Yes. I spoke to Miss Cashman, who was the last lawyer that had it. I've tried to speak to Mr. Padilla out of Miami. He's the one that had the case initially. He had it for about 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. He did most of the discovery, took most of the depositions. I think they were pretty much ready for trial or getting close, and he withdrew. but I've tried to call him a couple of times. I know he's been in a double homicide case they just got out of, but I never was able to speak with him.
And you're doing this pro bono? I don't think she has much cash.
No.
What are you getting?
Well, Sarah's got to pay me back one day.
Okay. Okay.
That was the agreement I had. I wanted her to understand that she needs to be self-reliant and she needs to be responsible for fees. I've got a bunch of clients that are paying me, and some of them only pay $50 a month. And but it's important to me. It's important to them, that we have an arrangement to make payments, and that's what I told her.
Do you think?
I feel.
Do you think she needs to tell her story in the courtroom?
Well, Sarah's a unique individual.
That was a very long pause. That was a very long pause. And then Sarah's a unique individual. She certainly is. She certainly is. Personally, if I was her attorney, I would not want her on the stand. I would not want to sit there and listen to her being cross-examined by the prosecutor. I think if anything, if she got up on the stand and no. Anyway, he's a brave man. He's a brave man, and all credit to him for jumping in and helping her out. And, the amount of work that he's got to put in the next month and is a lot. It's a lot. Like just learning the case is a lot. Even though the discovery is done or the depositions are done, just learning the case and putting your own spin on this information and trying to, build some kind of defense. It's a tall order. A tall order. But, we need people like James Owens. All credit to him. We need people like him in the legal system who it's just not all about money. And of course he's going to get publicity from this. Of course he is. And so he should. So he should, because she's never going to pay him back. So hopefully he gets some good clients out of this in the future. All right, guys. So we are bang up to date with the Sarah Boone case. That's where we are at. Jury selection starts on October the 7th. So October is going to be a big month for trials, assuming that this does go to trial. We'll have Sarah Boone for 3 weeks. And then the week after, October the 14th, we've got jury selection in the Delphi case. So I'm going to be following 2 trials at once. Now, of course, this is Florida. So Sarah Boone, it is going to be televised. We are going to be able to watch Sarah live in court on a daily basis. Not so the Delphi case, though, because Judge Frances Gull does not want cameras in her courtroom. She's not a ray of sunshine like the state of Florida is. She's not. Anyway, thank you all. Thank you all for joining me. If you didn't know very much about this case, then you're pretty much up to speed. You're pretty much up to speed. If you've been following this case for the whole time, 4 years, well, all credit to you. All credit to you. Yeah, you've heard Delphi is wild. Delphi is wild. There's nothing wilder than Delphi. It's insane. It's insane. Delphi is the insanest case that I think I've ever seen. Not in recent years, anyway. And we're not even at trial yet. Absolutely insane. All right. Thank you all. Thanks as always to the mods. Thanks as always to those that donate. If you can't afford to donate, don't worry about it. If you can afford, great, fantastic. Your donations are very, very, very welcome. Whether it's memberships, whether it's super chats, whether people buy me a coffee. And there's a website called Buy Me a Coffee. People buy me coffees. That's fantastic. Thank you all for that. All donations are welcome, but if you can't afford it, do you know what? The two most important things that you can do that take seconds, to take less than seconds, two things that you can do to help this channel out. One, like the video. So on your way out, if you've not given it a like, or you can even thumbs down it, it's up to you. If you didn't enjoy it, thumbs down it, it's fine. It all counts as interaction. And it tells YouTube that, you know, people are interacting with this video, and it just boosts it in the algorithm. The second thing you can do is share my videos. Just click on the share button and you can share it to whatever social media you've got. So if you're on, you know, if you're in Facebook groups or, you know, whatever, true crime, Reddit, whatever, share, because obviously it welcomes new people in. You'll just click on the video and watch it, and maybe you'll watch some more videos. But also, just that act of sharing tells YouTube that you enjoyed it. And again, it counts as interaction, like liking and commenting and stuff like that. It all counts as interaction. So clicking the share button counts as interaction. And it helps. It all helps. So thank you all. And I don't know what case I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't know what case I want to talk about tomorrow. But I'll see. I'll be here regardless. I don't know what case I'll be talking about though. But enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.